This is August 23rd, 2017. Start time is 9:06. Dallas, could we have a roll, please?
Commissioner Thayer.
Here.
Commissioner Richardson.
Present.
Commissioner Wilcox.
Here. Well, our batteries are probably dead. We'll see. Okay, at this point, Mr. Josiah, could you please lead us in a prayer?
Let's pray. Father, God, through your Son, Jesus Christ, and we thank you for salvation. We thank you for our country. We thank you for our state and our county. Thank you for our military and our leaders. And we ask this morning that you would continue to protect us at the local, state, and national level. Protect our military. Continue to always and our President Trump and our Congress and our stonewallers, and here locally as well, as they would give wisdom to our Butler County Commissioners. And in Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the agenda. Do we have a change?
Yeah.
I move that we approve the agenda as presented with the following changes. We have consent agenda, Douglas County Jail contract. Understand that's the one that recommended.
Take that up. We take that up at the 3 p.m. special meeting we have scheduled for today. And then I recommend we add action item H3, CCI, appointment of the CCI legislative representative.
Can't hear you.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. And it's red and it's dying. Thank you.
What we proposed is to move the Douglas County Jail contract, move that to the 3 p.m. meeting. And the second part, an additional item on action item, the CCI appointment legislative representative. That will be the third item on the action items.
That's what he said? Yep.
That's what he said. So I think, is everybody here? Okay.
And I'll second what he said.
All in favor? All right. Consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Dallas, public hearing, beer license.
Public hearing for 3.2 license for the Murphy Oil over Elizabeth. We're to go to a public hearing for that. We have representatives here that will make a presentation, and then you may make your decision on the approval of license. Okay. I'd like to public hearing for purposes of this liquor license.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
At this time, we're in a public hearing. We need to hear from the representatives from Murphy Oil. Yes, how are you?
Good, how are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Kelly Elephant, ELE, F as in Friday, A, N as in Nancy, T as in Tom, attorney registration number 26023. My address is 1874 South Grant Street in Denver. I'm the attorney for Murphy Oil, and I have with me Max Scott from Oedipus, our petitioner, And also joining us this morning, very shortly, will be Tara Renfro, our district manager. If you'll permit me to tell you a little bit about Murphy Oil, and then we habitually call Max to the stand to talk to you about the needs and desires of the neighborhood. Murphy Oil is based in El Dorado, Arkansas. They have about 1,400 gas stations. They have not that many out on the West Coast. If you haven't heard of them, they're primarily on the East Coast. They have about 14 stores in Colorado now. All of them except Timnath sell 3.2 beer. They offer 3.2 beer primarily as an accommodation to the customer, but only about 2% of their sales are from the beer. We like to make a joke that only the tourists buy the 3.2 beer, because they don't know it's 3.2 beer. Murphy Oil is a pretty well-capitalized company, so they have very sophisticated POS systems and training that are intended to keep beer out of the hands of minors and intoxicated persons. Tara Renfro will be here any minute, given the traffic on E470, to talk to you guys about the mechanisms they use to keep beer out of the hands of minors, and where is beer is located relative to the front door for kids that run in and grab that sort of thing. So if you guys are ready, I'll present to you Max Scott of Oedipus to talk to you about the needs and desires of your neighborhoods and how the neighbors felt about the gas station.
You ready? Mr. Scott? Do you folks swear witnesses?
We do.
Okay, I'll tell the truth anyway. My name is Max Scott. I own and operate Oedipus Incorporated. We're in our 49th business year. The last time we were here was for the Walmart west of you here. I don't know if any of you folks were on the board then. You know, you get old and you forget. We've done several thousand licenses in the state. We've been involved in several Rule 106 decisions where the decision of the licensing authority was appealed, and in each case, the court found we're legally on point, scientifically accurate as to our methods. We're retained by the applicant, paid in advance, and we enter into a contract, a letter agreement that says we don't guarantee survey results. And from time to time, we have had surveys come out negative when the applicant hired us, though it has been a while. We contacted the licensing staff, Dallas, and confirmed neighborhood, public hearing date, and so on and so forth. Then we generated a briefing sheet which explains generically what a 3.2 beer license is, which is essentially 3.2 FMB by weight per CRS 1246, the 3.2 beer code. And there's been a change in that you may or may not be aware of. You used to be able to sell it from 5 a.m. to midnight. And due to a little bit of confusion with the legislature and state liquor enforcement, that's been changed to 8 a.m. to midnight all day. So we had that in the briefing. Then we had specific information about this particular application. And commonly with Murphy Oil and the other C stores that we do, we get two questions. When's it going to open, and does it have diesel? I'm not sure when it's going to open, but I could look and see, or the representative will tell us. But the answer to the diesel question is yes. We generated a petition format that allows a person who's a party in interest, that's a business owner or manager, or a resident of the defined neighborhood, to sign either for or against and write in any reasons they'd like to communicate to the liquor authority. Do you folks have a copy of my report?
We reviewed it.
Okay. On the second to the last page, maybe it is the last page, it shows the defined neighborhood, which is a 1 mile radius. And then the pink areas are the residential units that we contacted. These are all homeowner occupied, you probably know that. And then the blue or highlighted are the businesses that we surveyed. Due to the nature of the neighborhood and its somewhat rural character, though it's a 1 mile radius, it doesn't have the concentration that you typically have in a metropolitan area. So we did pretty much, I'm going to say 85–90% coverage, which is much larger than we normally do in a more dense area. That gets to page 2 of the report. Item number 1, we're reporting that we did what we contracted to do with the client, and they paid us in advance. And if they were here, I'd say thank you very much. Item number 2 are who is for or against it for whatever reason. 23 businesses favoring, 1 against, 128 residences favoring, 12 against, and then people write in comments. Mostly the people that are opposed to it are the ones that write in comments. We had 10 people that said something to the effect of there's enough in the defined neighborhood, which is the test for this hearing, needs and desires. Are there enough licenses in the defined neighborhood? If the answer is no, the license in theory should be granted. If the answer is yes, it should be denied. We had 3 abhorrence of alcohol. Abhorrence of alcohol, a person doesn't have any need for the product, and that's the purpose of this hearing. All of this is based on a principle, Rule 106 decision known as Mobile versus Meyer. We had 5 people that had commercial usage objections. That horse has left the barn. It has already been zoned for that particular usage, so in theory, that's not a reason to object, though we did get the remark. And then we had 3 miscellaneous reasons and no reason given. In this survey category, for or against, for whatever reason, we have 87% favoring the issuance of the license. Needs and desires, we subtract out all of the objection reasons except for the conjunctive issue of need and desire. It's not need or desire, it's need and desire. And if you buy our argument, and I don't vote, you do, the survey result goes to about 94%. We computed the margin of error. It's a little over 3%, added in, subtracted out. Both show a need and a desire for a new license to issue. And that's all I have. Perhaps there are questions.
No, that covered it pretty well on
I
that
love
side.
coming here.
I know you're trying to
The
stretch for
prayer
your third
before the
presenter.
meeting, the Pledge of Allegiance. Most jurisdictions don't do either.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll sit back down.
Yeah, we don't get a lot of paratroopers in here, so.
Pardon me?
We don't get a lot of paratroopers in here, so.
Yeah, there's a whole line of thing that goes with that. Were you in the service?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in, who cares, Max, 6 Special Forces, long ago and far away. Thank you.
So the other thing we need to establish for you today, in addition to the needs and desires of your neighborhoods, are the character of the applicant and their qualifications to hold the liquor license. In the state of Colorado, we have what is known as a master file. So all of the officers and board members have already been pre-qualified at the state of Colorado with their fingerprints and whatnot. And because we are a public company, they are held to a higher standard than the run-of-the-mill folks anyway. So we have already established with the state of Colorado that we have the moral character and the criminal background required to hold the liquor license. And unfortunately, my witness, who I would like to have talked to you about how we keep liquor out of the hands of minors and intoxicated persons, is stuck just a few minutes away. So if it would be permissible, and it's not inconveniencing anyone who's here to object to our license, maybe we would table the public hearing and close it for now and then reopen it once she arrives. Is there anyone who wishes to object to the license that we should let talk in the meantime? Okay. Oh.
Any objections?
If you could go up. Yeah, well,
Are 18-year-olds still allowed
yeah,
to drive
that's,
beer, or is that 21 as well now?
If I might respond to that, we are certified with state liquor enforcement to do what's called responsible vendor training. That's a fancy word for alcohol training. And the answer to your question is, after the 18-year-old purchase date was phased out 5 years at a time, the purchase date age went to 21. However, 18-year-olds can still dispense the beverage. So it's 21 for all classes of alcohol. And there's a story behind that if you want to hear it.
Good, good.
You want to hear it or you don't?
Yes. No.
Well, there's this organization called Mothers Against Drunk Driving. So they did 2 things for all of the 50 states. One was they increased the alcohol purchase age to 21. So it left it up to the local jurisdictions to decide if they were going to do that. And if they didn't do it, they'd cut off their highway funds. That's 90% new construction, 10% for maintenance, and those are on federal highways. And then the other thing they did is they got the DUI statute changed from .1 to .08. So that's how all of that came about. Colorado eventually coupled or complied, and then they moved the age from 18 to 19, then 20, then to 21 over a 5-year period.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we just
Yeah,
suspend and
wanna
move to
move to
discussion.
suspend it?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd move we suspend the hearing at this point, move to discussion, and pick the hearing back up when your third witness arrives.
Thank you. And I apologize, and if it's all right, we'll excuse Max, let him get back to the highways.
Max, thank you.
First, I'll fill up before I leave.
On
Local taxes.
gasoline or 3.2 beer?
Gasoline.
Okay,
Too early for beer.
okay, just checking.
Thank you.
I'll just raise my hand when she gets here.
Got a vote, got a second? All in favor?
Aye.
This point, we'll move to,
Let's just go.
the hearing, go on with the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Elected officials, department heads and staff reports. Do you have any reports?
Yes, Commissioners, I do.
Thank you.
Dallas Schroeder, Elbert County Clerk and Recorder. If you remember, on August 10th, we had a special meeting to put forth a possibility of having a special PID in Sun Country Meadows. Part of that requirement was there had to be a petition submitted to us, and then at that point we could set the hearing, which we have done and have posted. But just wanted to let you know that we have found the petition sufficient for the number of signatures required. 244 signatures were submitted, 19 were rejected, 225 were accepted, and the number required was 200, so they have met the requirement for the petition.
So we have the hearing date set to
August 30th.
I assume you're continuing to collect more signatures?
Okay, she's back there. Yeah, she's-
We have heard from Linda, and she said she is going to continue to find signatures.
Great. My red light's come on too, so
I will have to talk about
I'll do the best I
it. We
can.
need a box of that.
There you go.
So, any other comments? Staff comments of any kind? Okay, on to open public comment. Do we have anybody with open public comment?
My name's Art Evans, 40820 Madrid Drive, Elizabeth, 80107. I've got a couple petitions to the commissioners about extending the terms for a couple of our people. I'm sure you guys have dozens of these. These are, you guys know that when you start a new job, there's a learning curve. It's expensive to the county to bring in a new sheriff, yada, yada. You've heard it all. Here's a couple more petitions. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, and actually, that's a item that'll be on discussion in a little, we have this item on the agenda for discussion in a little bit, but thank you.
Art, thank you. At this point, if your discussion revolves around the term limit extension for the positions, we'll be discussing that shortly. Any other public discussion? Okay, at that time, let's go on to discussion items. First one. Kyle, update on the subdivision regulations.
Good morning, Commissioners. Kyle Fenner, Director of Community and Development Services. This should probably just say all regulations because it's really an update of subdivision regulations, Elbert County zoning regulations, and our 1041 regulations. So it's really the collective of all of them. I don't have a specific update for you today. What I do have is an update on our update. We are scheduled to meet with the consultant or the contractor Baseline on August 30th to really go through and get a clear update of where they are in the process. I think that it'll also give an opportunity for us to get an idea of some of the directions that they're going, and some of the directions they're suggesting as alternatives to how we've always done it, and get some feedback from us. So that is going to be an August 30th special meeting. I believe we have it scheduled for 1 p.m. Is that?
Yeah, I believe that's correct. But
Yes.
as a workshop, not
As a
not
workshop, correct.
not a
It
meeting.
is a workshop. It's just a discussion. So that will be happening then. Any questions?
One of the things I would suggest you do is invite people that may be impacted by this. It's time for some conversation with the public and also different staff members, including Public Works.
Public Works has been invited, the county attorney has been invited. It really is a collective. One of the reasons that we're talking about it right now is actually to get the word out that we'll be discussing. It's a workshop. It really is you all working with the consultant that you have engaged. The public is obviously welcome, and we encourage public attendance.
Okay. And then I'd just comment that as it's a regulatory change, I mean, it's a process, but the ending of the process and before any adoption, there will be public hearings before both the Planning Commission and ourselves.
Absolutely. There may be, in this case, several, because we are touching all of the regulations that we have. I don't know that they'll all track perfectly together. There will be public hearings for the Planning Commission. I would imagine a number of workshops even prior to hearings with the Planning Commission. Then the Planning Commission, of course, will make their recommendations and comments, forward them to you, and then there'll be public hearings before you.
Yeah, one of the other things that, Kyle, you and I have discussed is that we want to make sure that as we update these regulations, that they're written in such a way that we will be able to implement some code enforcement, something that the county has been, I would like to use a nice word, but we'll just use the word negligent in terms of the ongoing code enforcement. And one of the things I've had comments from our county attorney is that the way they're written, they're really difficult. The way they are written as of this time, they're difficult to implement some enforcements. And I understand, and we're going also for the public notices that we're also going through the budget cycle right now. And this is one of the items that we're discussing, the inclusion of an additional individual to assist us with code enforcement. But the big part of the code enforcement issue, from what I've been directed by the county attorney, is that the regulations have to be written in such a way that they're enforceable. And so that'll be one of the discussion items on the 30th, if that's okay with you.
Oh, that's absolutely, totally acceptable. It would be nice to have a mechanism, a clear mechanism, and something that sets expectations for everybody.
And I notice we don't have grenades on the budget, so we'll have to do it a little differently.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I'm good. If there's any
Good.
public comment on
Keep
that.
public comment? Kyle, thank you.
I think I'm next.
Next one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Might as well
Next
stay.
one we have
Master.
master plan update.
Make sure and introduce yourself so we know that you don't have a split personality.
Oh, but I do. I do. So this is just a brief update of the master plan. The Planning Commission, we actually kind of took a little bit of a hiatus. It was a little bit geared around independence hitting us hard and some resets. One of the things that happened is that Design Workshop has had a change in staff. So Christopher Johnson was our project lead. We now have a young man named Chris Geddes. Christopher Johnson took a job with the city and county of Denver as a planner. We did have a meeting 2 weeks ago where Chris Geddes, we were introduced to Chris Geddes, as well as Kurt Culberson, who is one of the primary partners in the firm. So that was a really nice reset. Out of that meeting has come some of the deliverables that I believe the Planning Commission had been waiting for some time, in more of a tangible form rather than broad, if you will. If anybody wants to see these, they've been posted. They're on the Elbert County Comp plan.com website. There's a list at the top of that page. Just click the Documents button, and there's a list of all documents that have been associated with this, and they're listed in categories, but you'll see the dates next to them. So you'll see some August 17 dates. Those are the newest documents. Those documents include our existing conditions report draft. That existing conditions takes into account physically what is here right now, as well as what is predicted to come, state demographer, and our regulations. And so what we have to do is analyze where we are now. Our existing conditions report in draft is available. An evaluation of the public meeting number 1, and I know that there are differing opinions on the value of that public meeting. It actually had some value. I really encourage you to read this. What people expect out of a meeting and what we get out of a meeting is different. Read it. I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised. It wasn't just about the people that showed up and the people answering the questions. There's a lot more information that got gleaned out of that meeting than just those answers. So we've got that. We've also got a formal communications plan, which we didn't have before. We've got some critical risks identified to the project. So I think that it's more formal. Our communication channels are outstanding. We have a standing bi-weekly conference call with the consultant, and we're doing at least once a month face-to-face with the consultant. So the next public outreach meeting is scheduled for September 13th. It's at the Elbert County Fairgrounds. It starts at 6 p.m. We encourage everybody to attend. Tell your friends. We want all of you there. Please.
Are we going to get this thing done on budget?
Yes. Yeah. We were guaranteed by that. The consultant doesn't think they're going to end up making any money on it at this point, but they've committed to the budget, and that's the budget.
And the deliverables.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Any questions?
Question, comments? Public comment? Thank you, Kyle.
Yeah.
Next one, budget update. Mr. Pettit.
Morning, Commissioners. Rick Pettit, Elbert County Treasurer. We just got in the updated assessed value from the assessor, which should be the final one. So we'll be adjusting the numbers slightly from what you had seen, but it's not going to make much of a difference. So Rory and Monte have been working on the road and bridge budget. They're finalizing that since he's just come on, not too long ago. They're still working on that slightly. We've got good figures, I think, from HSS now. So we should have pretty good figures for you tomorrow when we have our study session.
Yeah.
Any questions?
Just, I guess, comment. I know from talking with you that I do appreciate you accommodating the guidance that we gave earlier, and I know it's been, we turned the screws pretty hard in asking you to budget to revenues, not budget to revenues plus on-hand balances, so I know we've got some good discussion coming tomorrow on where we go from there. So.
Yeah, I think we can definitely, move forward and get it so, it'll work for everybody and accomplish what we want to do.
Okay, thanks.
I think we made some recent changes too.
Yeah, so.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Public comment?
Marlene Rose, 33, 300 Ridge Road. My question, I looked at the website just last night. Will any of the preliminary 2018 budget items be shared on that website prior to tomorrow's meeting, or at what time do you see having information shared with the citizens? Because I'm seeing quite that, so.
For last year, this is the first workshop where we'll see the entire budget in one piece presented. If we follow what we did last year, it was any tweaks that were made after tomorrow's meeting were then released, and then the final draft for public consumption, I think, is statutorily supposed to be up by the 15th of August, so we'll be well above ahead of those deadlines.
That's mostly a the following week. Any more public comment? All right, on to the next item. Request to address extending term limits to allow a third term for 2 positions, the treasurer and the sheriff.
Good morning, Commissioners. Linda Krauser, Sun Country Meadows, 44683 Area Trail. As you can see, I handed you a collection of signatures that we collected in the past few days. As you can see, there are many, which represents the opinion and support of the Elbert County residents being in favor of the current sheriff and treasurer to serve 1 more term. Personally, not one person that I approached told me no. In fact, a lot of people I knew and a lot of people I did not know. And each person that I talked to, they were very, very accommodating with their signatures. They welcomed the opportunity to sign the petition. These 2 elected officials have brought integrity, trust, and professionalism to our county, and I think they've proven that. And just listening to Rick Pettit, I think he stepped up above and beyond what he's proven to do for the county. Both are established in our county and have provided needed leadership within both departments. We also realize that this has been done before, but this is different. There's no confusion, there's no misunderstanding what is being asked to be placed on the ballot. With that being said, Commissioners, we are asking for you to vote on this today. Thank you, Commissioners, and thank you above all for what you're really doing in the entire county. I'm not going to be very happy to speak here. I disagree with putting extending term limits. I don't believe in term limits. I think we should get rid of term limits at all forms of government from the top to the bottom. This was put on the ballot the last time. It was voted down by the people. There was no body that really defended anti-term limits, and it got defeated. 2 weeks after it was declined, we had November 18th. To me, that was proof enough that I voted right. I voted no. I don't think you're going to change people that voted no. I think there'll be an active move to not get this passed. I think it's I'm not talking about the personalities and the men and all of the issues that there are, but I just think it's a slap in the face to people that voted the last time, and if we're going to continue to vote on this every time, that next time we might not like the person, and then we have to vote it the other way. I just I was asked to come here by several people to talk about it. It makes me nervous, but anyway, I am against putting this on the ballot.
Christine, your name?
Oh, sorry. Everybody knows me.
I know.
Christine Ware, 2681 Little Creek Drive in Elizabeth.
More comments? Frank, we got one going up there already. Sorry.
Free to form a line.
Good morning. Tony Baker, 7482 Patrick Trail in Elizabeth. I want to say that philosophically, I'm actually for term limits. I think term limits exist to ensure that we turn out bad eggs over a period of time. But there's an inherent problem with term limits as it relates to that, is we also end up turning out good eggs. simply because they've done their time or done their duty. And I think that there's some hesitation in the county around any discussion of term limits, because we've certainly proven over the years that we've been able to elect some really low performers. That's a nice way to say it. And in those cases, thank goodness for the term limits. But I think that when you start looking at skilled positions, when you start looking at positions that have built systems and teams and trust in the community, to simply turn them away simply because they've done their time doesn't make a lot of sense. I think Elbert County is still on the upswing. We've certainly made significant growth and changes for the positive over the last several years. And I think that this ballot initiative allows us to continue with our growth and correction, if you will, of some of our errors of the past. And so I'm certainly in favor of allowing term limit extension for these two positions, and in the future, if it's appropriate, for other positions. But I think right now would be a really bad time to start turning good people out simply because they've spent their 2 years or 2 terms. So, thank you.
Public comment? Right.
Normally, I'm Frank Reeves, and normally I am opposed to term limits as well. But I want to point out that there is a big distinction between this and previous ones, and that it's not a permanent elimination of term limits, but a temporary extension. I believe it is temporary, and it is not all that easy to keep and retain people who have done a good job. I think this seems like a reasonable thing to do here. The most important thing, however, is that there's no really legitimate reason not to leave it to the vote of the people. Since it is somewhat different than it was in the past, I think we should have the opportunity to decide. So, thank you.
Good morning, gentlemen. Bob Lewis, 1845 Buttercup Road, beautiful Elizabeth, Colorado. Thank you for letting us come up here and speak on this particular topic. I rise in support of this resolution to offer for 2 of our public figures, limited one, to allow the voters to vote to extend for 1 term, the sheriff and the treasurer. When I go into my Wayback Machine, and which I occasionally do, I have an opportunity to remember what it was like in the sheriff's office prior to the current administration. We had one guy that was under a grand jury investigation for quite some time for not really committing a crime, but mishandling some rebate monies from a contractor. The guy who came in after him took $30,000 from the county for specialized training so he could then qualify for a job on the East Coast. Followed immediately after that in the sheriff's office was a guy who, unfortunately, we had several escapes from our prison. Bill Francis showed up and started turning that department around, and one of his very first recruits was a young deputy by the name of Shane Keep. Shane has acted in both a standard deputy and in a leadership role in every department in that agency, and has continued the turnaround that Bill Francis started. He's a tremendous asset to the county, and I think it would frankly have a lot of esprit de corps that didn't exist before. We're still a small, underfunded county, but I think he's made the best out of it, and I think the county would like the opportunity to extend his term 1 more time without, continuous limits. There's already going to be an election set, so there's no additional cost to the county whatsoever for this. And I'm very respectful of the people that disagree with my view on this. However, I'd very much like to see that. And speaking of Rich Pettit, I can tell you this guy is 100%. It don't come any better than that. I know you gentlemen are all fairly accomplished professionally, and you've had the opportunity to work with some shining stars and some folks that aren't shining stars, and I think you all recognize what Rick Pettit is. He's been a tremendous asset to the county for the entire time. He's an Air Force Academy graduate. Was a B-52 crew during the Cold War. He's been a a leader both in the township here in Kiowa as well as in the fire department, volunteer fire department here, and not to mention his business over there, Albert County Abstract. So it is with great enthusiasm that I seek that you gentlemen, please, put these items on the ballot, allow voters to take a crack at it, and give us their views. And so, gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Josiah Matthews, 35427 Welch Trail, Elizabeth. Good morning, Commissioners. I support the inclusion of a ballot measure to extend the term of Sheriff Shane Heath and Treasurer Rick Pettit for one more term. I do not support a wholesale removal of term limits for public officials. I think those are wise and they protect us from foolish or malevolent official who, gets entrenched in office. But in this case, both Sheriff Heath and Treasurer Pettit have demonstrated they're exceptional individuals, and I'd like to see them have the ability to serve the county one more term. Thank you.
Any more public comment?
Marlene Rhodes, 3300 Highland Road. I'm not going to say that I'm against these gentlemen. I don't think anybody is that would be against the third term limit. I think that they've served well and done a good job. But I think that we're afraid of change here in Albert County. And I'd like to look to the three of you to say, what would this county have been like if we didn't change your seats, if we had left the prior commissioners there? We can't be afraid of change. We need to allow change to occur. In the business world, there's a burnout at management and corporate level that happens at about a 10-year cycle, sometimes 8 years, sometimes, So I think that, though there are some that would certainly agree that these gentlemen are doing a good job, nobody is disputing that, but we have 6 times said that we don't want extension of term limits, and we can't be fearful of getting new and better people by changing and voting them in. Thank you.
Public comment? No? No.
Scott Wills, 11953 Lasso Place, Kiowa, Colorado. I'd like to speak in favor of the initiative or ballot measure. I don't know if you noticed, the sheriff and the undersheriff are here today. I actually spoke with one of them earlier. They're out on the road. They're understaffed, and these guys are actually doing not the supervisor role that they should be doing, but they're actually a patrolman today because they're short-staffed a little bit. So that's why they're not here if you're kind of wondering. I disagree. I do think we have a way of getting rid of bad eggs in government. It's called election day, and we do it every two years or 4 years for a cycle. We haven't had a county commissioner serve 2 terms in quite a while. So I'm not in favor of term limits at all, and I've spoken that before. But to speak to this measure, these 2 gentlemen are full of leadership, integrity, trust, respect. They're both innovators. They've moved their office into the 21st century in the 8 years they've been here. And I would hate to cut that short now and finish up. We all get to choose how long we have our doctor. I would hate my doctor to leave me after 8 years because he was term limited, or my accountant, or my insurance agent. That's the joke part. So I speak in favor and hope that you put it on the ballot. This is the only way that a citizen can get an initiative on the ballot. We don't have any other process that will allow us to put something on the ballot. So I hope that you don't set the bar too high. Thank you.
Bill?
My name is Bill Harris, 808 Fair Road, Assembly, Colorado, the wind farm capital
Long way to spin.
Okay, I think, I'm in favor of putting this on the ballot, the extension, based upon some interesting information. Over 80% of the counties in Colorado are in favor of extending, waiving term limits. Now, does that mean we don't know what we're doing? No, not really. But we constantly hear, we've had this on the ballot 5, 6 times, and it's been voted down. And that brings to my memory that some spies went into the promised land. The majority of them came back and said, we can't conquer that. There's giants in the land. But the minority came back too and said, we can. So the majority is not always right. Sometimes the minority is right. So let's put it on the ballot. Let's vote it to the end and see if the majority votes it down. Or maybe the minority will come out and say, hey, it's a good idea. So I am in favor of term limits in certain cases. But in this case, I think they need to be extended and waived. And thank you for your time.
I'm Don Draper, 28734 County Road 17, Elizabeth. Again, I've got to follow the bill and such as that. I'm greatly in favor of this being on the ballot. You know, it's a shame that if we have good individuals that we have to fire them after a certain number of years. You know, most jobs, that doesn't happen. And, you know, we've all seen this. Granted, we've had some bad eggs here and there, but we do have an election to get rid of the bad eggs. So again, I would like to support this initiative to put it on the ballot. Thank you.
Greg Hines, 36925, Indian Tree Circle, Elizabeth, Colorado. I'm not going to speak to the individuals, I'm going to speak to the positions. I think founding fathers of this nation never intended for policymakers to be in position extended lengths of time. And therefore, on that aspect, I am for term limits. I'm talking president, congressmen, governors, state reps, and county commissioners. But to the best of my knowledge, our sheriff and our treasurer are not policymakers. One enforces the law, one pays the bills. They don't determine the laws, they don't create the laws, and I don't think they create who gets paid the bills, but he just pays them. And in that respect, I don't think they should be term limited. These people do jobs day in and day out, they're not policymakers. And therefore, I think it was never intended that these people be term limited. Policymakers, yes. Guys who come in and do their 9 to 5 jobs day in and day out, no, and that's my position.
Further comment? This time, there's a comment up here.
Comment, a couple of questions. Yeah. One of the things that had come up when this was first brought out in public comment and some of the cards and letters we received was the cost of the county of running such an election. I know things are kind of fluid at the moment, but Alice, do you have any numbers that show what the cost to taxpayers would be on this?
I can get a ballpark about as close as we can get. We still have not, it's not even required yet for special districts to notify us if they're going to be having an election this year or not. So some of it, this is going to be a little bit of a guesswork. We do know that Elizabeth Park and Rec is going to be on the ballot with us, which is a large number of voters. I have heard that Elizabeth C1 now has enough candidates out for petitions that would put them on the ballot. And we also heard from Douglas County and the Northwest Corner that they will also have an issue. So we do have those, and that's with our bigger districts, which helps out. I will estimate that our cost this year for the election is going to be somewhere between $30,000 and $35,000, depending on whether school districts decide to go with us, whether Kyle or Agate or Deer Trail or Lyman, and it all factors in. One thing to remember about the budget and with the election cycle is we budget to be able to conduct the election if nobody else was going to be partners with us at all, so that we have the money available to conduct the election. And sometimes the concern, I think, that's confused is that there's no check that the county writes when there's a measure placed on the ballot. It simply reduces the amount of reimbursement from the special districts that coordinate with us. So the money is in the budget to conduct the election. It just reduces that reimbursement that we get back. With the districts I mentioned that are already coordinating with us, I would expect that the county reimbursement rate would be reduced by about a third due to the numbers. So I'm going to say that perhaps the reimbursement rate will reduce maybe $10,000. And that's my best guess.
So our net cost would be 20?
No, the amount of money that we invoice the special districts that coordinate with us on a prorated share based on the number of voters they have in their district and we send ballots to. And so when we as a county have an issue on, it reduces the amount that I invoice them on a prorated basis. So I'm estimating that it would be 10,000, maybe a little bit more, less money that I invoice for this year if there is a county question.
So our net cost would be 30 minus 10?
No, I would receive, the 20 would come from the other special districts.
Oh, so our net cost would be 10?
Correct.
Okay, 10.
And, don't hold me to that forever, but
No.
we're in the ballpark.
I guess my other would be, independent of the issue we're discussing, I know there's changes that have happened around elections, and are there, I guess that we've talked about, there are benefits to holding a countywide election in terms of exercising new systems.
Within the department, it would benefit us to do more work. And I know that sounds a little, doesn't make sense. But we do have a new voting system. The elections department has been doing extensive training throughout the year on the system, but we've never done a live election with it. And so it'd be nice to have that out for, we go through a full cycle and have lots of ballots to work with. It would be good for our election judges to have more ballots to work with. We also have some different requirements this year. In statute, we have to do a risk limiting audit now. And I won't even begin to start to explain that to you because I'm not fully up to speed on it, but it is going to be a little bit more requirement on us. While it's a less number of ballots that we have to canvass specific ballots to make sure the percentages are where they fall within the acceptable range. And so that would be good practice for us and for the election judges as well moving into next year's November election when the governor's race and others will be on there. There is no state race. So if we still have to conduct the risk limiting audit. And so if we did that just within the special district, the numbers of ballots that we would be auditing for Kansas would be very, very small, and we wouldn't have that experience.
And the following year, the governor and 7 officials live in the county that will be on the ballot. Well, like I said, no secret that I was involved in the campaign to eliminate the term limits for sheriff a couple of years ago. Mr. Hines kind of spoke to the same philosophy I had. I do agree there's a reason for term limits, but folks like us that make law, people that are elected that affect folks outside the electors, would have happily voted against John Boehner, but I don't vote in the 3rd District in Ohio, so I had to rely on other people to decide on his term. I do believe that in some, largely, the citizens have a responsibility for the government. to put things on autopilot, to say I can deal with something for 1 or 2 terms, or I don't want to upset the apple cart, you know, cause consternation by running against a friend. Now we're talking smaller things in the county. I think this, in some respects, made us a lazy electorate. We can put up with anything for 8 years. If we see things going wrong in year 2 or 3, somebody will stand up. I mean, it's happened here on the commissioner table with regularity for decades. It's been a long time since everybody served even 2 terms. It's been in terms of our sheriff. I'm more familiar with because I did the research a few years back. We've had 24 sheriffs since 1874. We had Sheriff Brown, who served more than a lifetime for a lot of people. And even he had a break in service. He left for 4 or 8 years and was voted back in by the people. Since term limits were put in place, we've had 2 sheriffs. We've had 6 sheriffs. Only 2 have served more than 1 term. So the people or the individuals have proven that sometimes 1 term is enough for a sheriff. You know, we have an opportunity here before us to allow the citizens to decide whether 2 terms is enough for our current sheriff and our current treasurer. And I think it's appropriate to let the people decide. As a county,